Hi everyone, this is Jason Rodriguez from Z Prime. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by Angel Lance. She is the founder and CEO of Motive Power. Angel, how are you doing today?
I'm great. The sun is shining, safe, happy and healthy. You?
I'm doing great. Great new year. So great to start off just to get some feedback from you. Really want to get your thoughts on what do you see as one of the greatest challenges outside of COVID-19 facing clean tech in 2021?
Ooh, um, outside of COVID is sort of in everything these days, but outside of COVID, I would say the biggest challenge that folks really will be facing or are facing are really around adaptation. Adapting new cultures, adapting new styles, adapting new speeds, and adapting new perspectives. And maybe 10 years ago or some amount of years ago, um, you know, there was all the buzz in the business world around how culture is king, and if you don't have one, it's a detriment to your business and all that sort of thing. Um, and fast forward to these days, it's more than just culture now that is king, or it's values that are king, and driving your businesses through those values are really what are taking center stage in our I would say global economy. And in order to drive those values and those behaviors, you really need to take a look at adaptation. How are you moving with the times? How are you shifting with perspectives? How are you learning and how are you listening to become more viable? And I think that's the biggest challenge really any business is facing in 2021.
Well, yes, so perfectly said. I mean, you're just looking at when you talk about adaptation, CES, you had General Motors really just going all in, a complete 180 on electrification. And I think that took a lot of courage. And because the cultural shift amongst that company, like you said, is just as big as the actual technology side of it. So just great message there. So on the other side, what about opportunities? What are those opportunities you're seeing coming from in 2021?
Well, opportunities, I guess, for every business, um, ours included, right? I think, um, what is the saying? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yep.
Those are true words. And inventions are happening all over the place. I mean, maybe you've noticed that people are talking about COVID related often, but things that are positive that have come out of having to quickly shift tact. And a lot of those new things aren't going to go away, and I hope it's going to spur more innovation, and more invention, more not just in terms of product or service, but in terms of perspective, right? Like innovation and invention of maybe the questions around, say, things like diversity inclusion or the socioeconomic divide. Companies are now thinking about these things, and they're actually crafting their wares to address them. So the opportunity has never been better to reinvent yourself, like Madonna, and then come back with a winning album.
Great points there. So, what do you say to these companies? There's a lot of talk about climate change, and obviously, it's something both of our companies are very passionate about on decarbonization. What do you say to those companies who are not taking this seriously? And what are the risks of inaction?
Um, well, the cynical side of me says, I'll see you in the rearview mirror, because I don't think it's an option anymore. And if folks feel like it's an option, then I think they'll become obsolete pretty quickly, which I think is natural and good, because if you are not evolving, then you're dying. And I think the business construct, it follows that same logic and that same sort of natural principle. So I would say to those folks, to each your own. I get it, but that's not my way, and that's not many of our ways. And so we're gonna push forward and really think and grapple with really intense problems like massive climate change and like a greater divide in people's ability to feed their families than ever before, and political unrest, and the fact that we have, systemic racism that actually should be talked about, even in a business context. And no, we should not say that anymore because it's not politically correct. We can use that term. It's a real term. So I'd say to them, I'm happy for you to be a part of the discussion when you choose to be. And until then, we'll carry forward.
Spot on, Angel. So what trends are you seeing from your customers as a result of COVID-19?
COVID-19? Well, one weird thing that sort of took me by surprise, I guess, is a lot of organizations are blending these sort of three concepts: climate change, the socioeconomic divide, and in some cases political unrest or diversity, a lack of diversity. And they're moving all of those issues into often one big issue. Or like components of a bigger issue, and these organizations are looking at it as a big thing. That surprised me because I see them as all sort of separate things. But I think folks, if we can find a way, and I'm confident that we can, to allow businesses to drive through COVID, to try and keep people safe, to try to up our communication game. That's really a big factor, and allow all voices to be heard, and to have more transparency in communication. Then I think we're going to actually move through COVID-19 and come out on the other side better than how we went in.
I couldn't agree with you more on that as well, Angel. So I wanted to end finally, and this actually relates to a little bit of what you talked about in the opening about adaptation. And there's some companies finding themselves just that, at the nexus of just struggling to keep the business going, but at the same time trying to meet these dual or sometimes triple forces they're facing from the pandemic, the economics of it, and there's the social unrest of it. So in that context, what advice do you have for those companies and executives right now that's struggling with innovation, that's struggling with employee engagement? I mean, we are too. So I'm somewhat in that box as well. And they're struggling to drive new initiatives during this environment. What advice do you have for them?
Well, first off, I would sympathize, and I'd say, man, I know it's hard. It's not easy. This is not a fun time. It's certainly a high stress time to be in business, and for more reasons than ever before. It's not just money. It's not just market. It's welfare, people's welfare, and their mind share. So it's more complex than ever. So I would say first off that I'm right there with you. But the advice I would give them is the same advice I would give anyone who is in business, starts a business, drives a business, runs a business, is performing within a business, which is to persevere. Take every day and put one foot in front of the other, because ultimately that is what will get us through, right? Is you just got to keep on keeping on, and take each input, assess it, review it, take action, move on. I mean, there's never been a better time, I think, for folks to really put their back into it, even though it's hard, because even that next step is a little bit of progress. And while it maybe didn't make us any money, or maybe it's even more challenging in terms of employee engagement or what have you, it is still a step forward. And therefore, it can help in some cases with the energy needed to take yet the next step.
Well, Angel, thank you. We're big fans, obviously, of Motive Power and the work you guys are doing to inspire that the next generation of change. And we appreciate you taking some time to share some of your thoughts about 2021 and some practical advice on how to continue to move forward. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jason.